Welcome to the Unsolved Vault, where every story is real, every clue matters, and every mystery waits to be opened.
On January 31st, 2013, a 21-year-old student named Elisa Lam disappeared inside one of the most infamous hotels in Los Angeles, the Cecil Hotel, a place known for its dark history, home to murders, serial killers, and tragedies whispered through decades of fear. Elisa was last seen alive inside an elevator. What happened in those final moments would become one of the most disturbing mysteries ever recorded. Her behavior in the CCTV footage was strange, erratic, unexplainable. And 19 days later, guests began to complain about the water in the hotel. Thick, dark, with a strange taste. Maintenance workers climbed onto the roof, opened one of the massive water tanks, and found Elisa Lam's body floating inside. How did she get there? Why was the rooftop door alarm not triggered? Why was the tank lid closed from the outside? And why does the elevator footage look edited? Tonight, we dive into one of the most chilling, confusing, and deeply unsettling cases in modern history. Elisa Lam arrived in Los Angeles on January 26, 2013, during a solo trip along the West Coast. She had been traveling for weeks, documenting everything on her Tumblr blog. Her posts were open, honest, and sometimes deeply emotional. On January 28th, she checked into the Cecil Hotel. At first, Elisa shared a room with other female travelers. But within 48 hours, the hotel moved her into a private room. Her roommates had complained about her unusual behavior. On January 30th, a bookstore manager named Katie Orphan became the last known person to speak with Elisa. She described Elisa as bright, friendly, talkative, excited to choose books for her family. But something changed the next day, January 31st, the day Elisa vanished. Security cameras captured her entering and exiting the hotel lobby, wandering the halls, appearing disoriented and unsettled. She never returned to her room that evening. When she failed to contact her parents, something she did every day, they immediately called the Los Angeles Police Department. Detectives searched the hotel, room by room. They used tracking dogs, which followed Elisa's scent up to the 8th floor, and then suddenly lost the trail near a window. But there was one place the police did not search: the rooftop. Access to it was restricted, locked, and protected by an alarm system. At least, that's what the hotel claimed. On February 13th, 2 weeks after Elisa vanished, the LAPD released a piece of footage taken from one of the hotel's security cameras. The elevator footage. A single, 4-minute clip that would change the entire course of the investigation. In the video, Elisa enters the elevator wearing a red sweatshirt, black shorts, and sandals. She steps inside, turns to face the panel, and presses multiple buttons. But the elevator doors do not close. They stay wide open. Elisa hesitates, then peeks her head out into the hallway, looking left and right as if someone might be following her. She retreats into the elevator and quickly backs into a corner, moving strangely, almost like she is hiding. But again, the doors refuse to close. Then her behavior becomes even more unsettling. Elisa steps out of the elevator entirely. Her arms move in unusual, almost fluid motions. At one point, she appears to gesture at something, or someone, out of view. Her fingers spread, twist, and float in the air in an unnatural way. Some viewers thought she was talking to someone. Others believed she was reacting to something only she could see. Finally, Elisa re-enters the elevator and presses even more buttons, entire columns of them. Yet the doors still do not close. The elevator behaves as if it is frozen in place, as if something is interfering with it. Elisa steps out of the frame one last time. Moments later, the elevator doors close and begin moving normally again, stopping at several floors without anyone entering. It behaves perfectly, as if nothing had been wrong at all. But the strange behavior in the clip was not the only mystery. Within hours of its release, online investigators noticed something else. The footage looked edited. Timestamps were blurred. The video appeared slowed down in several portions. and nearly 1 full minute seemed to be missing from the recording. Why would a hotel edit evidence in an active missing person case? And what happened in the missing time gap? To this day, no official explanation has ever been given. For nearly 3 weeks after Elisa disappeared, the search inside the Cecil Hotel continued. Police officers, detectives, and even scent dogs combed through every hallway, every unused room, every storage area. But the building was massive, 14 floors, countless corridors, and a rooftop few people ever accessed. By February 19th, hotel guests began to complain. They reported that the water coming from their faucets was strange. Some described it as dark and murky. Others said it had a metallic taste. A few even claimed the pressure was unusually low. To investigate the issue, a maintenance worker named Santiago Lopez made his way to the roof of the hotel. He walked past the locked rooftop door, climbed a ladder, and reached the 4 large metal water tanks that supplied the entire building. When he opened the hatch of the main tank, he immediately saw something floating beneath the surface. At first, he thought it was a large object or debris. But as his eyes adjusted to the dark water, he realized the horrifying truth. It was Elisa Lam. Her body was floating face up, partially clothed, with her belongings scattered at the bottom of the tank. Her watch, her room key, her clothes drenched and sinking. The lid of the tank was extremely heavy, requiring significant effort to open. According to Lopez, the hatch had been closed when he arrived. Closed from the outside. To reach the tank, Elisa would have needed to climb onto the roof of a restricted area, avoid or disable the alarm on the rooftop door, scale the side of the water tank, open the heavy metal lid, and then climb inside. All of this would have been nearly impossible to do alone. And yet, there she was. The hotel was immediately evacuated from the top floors. Firefighters drained the tank, removed Elisa's body, and sealed off the area. The rooftop became a full crime scene. But the biggest question investigators faced was simple. How did Elisa Lam get inside a locked water tank that required force, tools, and a ladder to access? And why was the lid closed after she was inside? No one had an answer. The autopsy report on Elisa Lam was released on February 21, 2013. And instead of bringing answers, it created even more confusion. The cause of death was listed as accidental drowning, but the details inside the report raised serious questions. First, there were no signs of trauma on her body. No bruises that indicated assault. No defensive wounds. No broken bones. No cuts, no scratches. Nothing that suggested she had been attacked or forced into the tank. Second, the toxicology screening was incomplete. Many blood tests were not done because Elisa's body had decomposed in the water for weeks. The tests that did come back showed no illegal drugs, and only small, trace amounts of her prescribed bipolar medication. This led investigators to propose the theory that Elisa may have suffered a severe mental health episode. But even this explanation had problems. Her behavior in the elevator was strange, yes. But nothing in the autopsy indicated she was disoriented enough to climb into a water tank and drown. Then came the most puzzling detail. Elisa's lungs did not show the typical signs of a classic drowning. There was water inside them, but not the amount expected for a drowning that happened while the person was conscious. Some experts believed she may have died before entering the tank. Others believed her decomposition made the results unreliable. Another strange detail. Her clothes were found separately at the bottom of the tank, not on her body. Her phone was never found. And there were no fingerprints or DNA from anyone else on the hatch or tank. The autopsy concluded with a single sentence that frustrated the entire online community. No evidence of foul play. But private forensic experts who reviewed the files said that the conclusion did not match the mysterious circumstances. The rooftop was difficult to access. The tank was nearly impossible to enter alone, and the hatch was too heavy for her to close from the inside. Officially, it was an accident. Unofficially, nothing made sense. The investigation into Elisa Lam's death produced countless theories. Some were grounded in evidence and logic. Others emerged from the dark history of the Cecil Hotel itself. Each explanation revealed something disturbing, not only about the case, but about the environment where it took place. 1. The mental health theory. The official conclusion was that Elisa suffered a severe bipolar episode. Her unusual behavior in the elevator was often used as proof. She pressed multiple buttons, hid in corners, stepped in and out repeatedly, and made strange hand movements. Her roommates had complained of erratic behavior earlier in the week. However, this theory has major flaws. People experiencing bipolar mania or psychosis typically do not climb into water tanks on their own. The rooftop door was supposed to trigger an alarm. The tank was difficult to reach without assistance. The heavy hatch would have been nearly impossible to close after entering. And the elevator malfunction remains unexplained under this theory. For many investigators, the mental health explanation felt incomplete. 2. The foul play theory. Some believe Elisa was murdered. The Cecil Hotel was located in one of the most dangerous parts of Los Angeles. Drug dealers, violent offenders, and transient residents lived inside the building. 2 serial killers, Jack Unterweger and Richard Ramirez, had stayed at the hotel in the past. Could someone have followed Elisa? Could the missing minute of footage be hiding a confrontation or a chase? Supporters of this theory point to the edited video. The timestamp is blurred. Several seconds appear slowed down, and about 1 minute is missing entirely. If someone else was in that hallway, removing them from the footage would change everything. But there was no physical evidence of a struggle. No DNA. No signs of assault on her body. No witness reports. This theory remains possible, but unproven. 3. The hotel negligence/cover-up theory. Many believe the hotel tried to protect itself from lawsuits. The Cecil had a long history of deaths, criminal activity, and police investigations. If Elisa accessed a restricted area due to a malfunctioning alarm or an unlocked door, the hotel could be held responsible. The rooftop door alarm was a central issue. Hotel staff insisted it was always active. Yet firefighters reached the roof without triggering it. Guests later claimed the door had been left open by staff. Did the hotel alter the footage to hide security failures? Did they attempt to shift blame away from themselves? This theory raises serious questions about the building's safety and whether crucial information was withheld. 4. The hidden pursuer theory. Some viewers believe Elisa was reacting to somebody who was not visible in the elevator footage. Her body language appears defensive. Peeking, crouching, hiding. Her gestures look like she is communicating with someone, or pleading with someone. Because the video is cropped, we cannot see the hallway fully. If someone stood just to the left of the camera's frame, viewers would never know. Supporters of this theory say, it explains the elevator not moving. It explains Elisa pressing multiple buttons in panic. And it explains her sudden fear in the hallway. But again, no suspect was ever identified. 5. The accidental death theory. Some think Elisa climbed into the tank willingly, perhaps seeking isolation, or under the influence of a manic episode. But the tank was more than 10 feet tall. She would have had to climb a ladder, lift a heavy metal lid, and lower herself into a confined space filled with water. The lid, however, was reportedly closed when she was found. If she closed it herself, it would have been nearly impossible to escape. If someone else closed it, the death could not have been accidental. Critics say this theory cannot fully explain the closed hatch. 6. The dark history theory. The Cecil Hotel had a reputation. A long and terrifying history of deaths, suicides, murders, and unexplained events. Its reputation was so notorious that it inspired writers, filmmakers, and urban legends. Some believe the environment may have contributed psychologically. That fear, isolation, and the energy of the building influenced her behavior. Others take the theory further, claiming something paranormal occurred. But this explanation, while chilling, lacks evidence. It remains a topic of fascination, but not a viable forensic conclusion. In the end, none of the theories fully explain every part of the case. Her behavior, the elevator's malfunction, the missing footage, the rooftop access, the water tank, the closed hatch. Each piece fits only partially into any explanation. Elisa Lam's death remains a puzzle where every theory solves something, but none solve everything. After months of investigation, the official answer to Elisa Lam's death was simple: an accidental drowning caused by a mental health episode. But for millions of people, that explanation never felt complete. The elevator footage, the missing minute, the malfunctioning doors, the restricted rooftop, the heavy water tank lid, and the lack of physical trauma, all of it left more questions than answers. Elisa Lam's final days remain a haunting combination of fact and mystery. She was a young woman traveling alone, searching for adventure and documenting her thoughts online. Her posts showed someone both hopeful and vulnerable, someone who felt deeply and experienced the world in a unique way. But something happened inside the Cecil Hotel. Something that led her to the rooftop. Something that brought her to the water tank. Something that no theory, official or unofficial, has been able to fully explain. Even today, years later, investigators, internet detectives, and curious minds around the world return to the case, hoping to find the missing piece that makes the puzzle finally fit. But the truth remains just out of reach. Was it a tragic accident? A moment of crisis? A failure of the hotel's security? Or something darker, something we may never truly understand? What we do know is this: Elisa Lam's story continues to echo through the halls of the Cecil Hotel, a building with a shadowed past and secrets that refuse to stay buried. And perhaps that is why this case still haunts us. Not just because of how Elisa died, but because of everything we still don't know about how she lived in her final moments.
If you want to explore more real mysteries, more unsolved cases, and more stories that still refuse to rest, subscribe to the Unsolved Vault. Together we'll open the next file, soon.